Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start with compression on the back. So I'm gonna place my hand just on her sacrum, and with the other hand, I'll just start some nice compressions. Just working with the erector spinae musculature. So the heel of my palm is right in that lamina groove. And I'll go all the way up to the top of her shoulders, so like C7. And then even though normally you wouldn't do this in massage, I'll usually turn my hand out. It's okay to have slightly different movements and to have your wrist in, this is a little bit of a strange position, right? Because it's turned this way. But if you're just doing it for this long in a massage, it's not bad for you. And if you're using good body mechanics and you're putting body weight into this, then it's still good. Okay, so it's compression on both sides. And then I'm gonna go ahead and undrape her back. We wanna take our sheet on top and make sure that we bring it into the side of her body so that we have space to stand on the table and so that we're not standing on the actual top sheet because that'll be really uncomfortable for her. So, and then I'm gonna move her arms down to the side. Okay, and then from here we can apply our oil. I have my oil bottle right here. So it's quite a bit of oil. This is going to be more than you would normally use in your Swedish massage and definitely more than deep tissue. So we're not going to spend a lot of time really just rubbing this oil into her skin, but even with that, we still want this to feel like part of the massage. It shouldn't feel like it's just an oil application. Put just a little bit more on. And in some of the traditions, they will apply the oil with a brush. So you guys see up at the front, have you guys seen the brushes, like the horsehair brushes up at the front? Those are to apply oil for Suboccipital. Okay, so then we'll sit on our stool, one side, and we'll put both of our feet up on the edge of the table, and we'll carefully move our other foot over. And we'll just keep this towel close to us. We can wipe the oil off with the towel, and we're also gonna use this when we elevate and bring our client's shoulder blade up, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and start, and I'm moving her hair away so that my feet, don't catch her hair. But at the same time, we want to make this part of the massage. So you want to make this nice, and you want it to be relatively deep. And then you'll explain to your client that we use a pressure scale of 1 to 5. So I'll go ahead and do that now. So in Ashiatsu, we use a pressure scale of 1 to 5, and 1 and 2 are our warm-up levels. So they're just gonna be kind of light. It should still feel good though. And then 3 and 4 are kind of where you want to be once we really get going. And 5 is too much. So is this about, maybe like, this should be like a 2 or 3 right now. Is it right in there? Yeah. Okay. So as we get going into the deeper movements, I'll check in with you, okay? See where it's at. So then we're gonna place our heels, and preferably they be nice and warm. And we'll place them about C7, and you want your heels to stay pressed together. So keep them together, and we're gonna go ahead and slide down their back. Just as far as your legs can go without your legs touching your client's head. Only your heels should be touching. And then as I come back, I'm gonna go ahead and press my fingertips into her suboccipital muscles. Okay. And then I'll slide off the arms. So then we'll do this again. We're gonna do each of these movements 3 times, with the exception of the Tapotement stuff, just so that you can have a practice model. But does that mean that once you feel really comfortable that you should only do each movement 3 times? No, yeah. You're going to, once you feel comfortable with massage, you'll be able to intuitively decide how much or how little you want to use each of the strokes. Okay. Really make sure you're keeping your heels together. So sometimes people think that they can move their heels apart and kind of trace the erector spinae musculature, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel stable or balanced. You can try it and then verify it. Yeah. Okay, so next we're going to do this tapotement. So our heels are on the erector spinae musculature and they're pressed together still. And we're going to go ahead and just do some nice loose tapotement, keeping our feet dorsiflexed and just relaxing, pressing your back into the wall. And then as we slide up, we're going to press our fingertips into those suboccipital muscles. Did you guys like the way that felt when you received that? I think it feels crazy cool. I think it feels amazing. So, hello. Okay. You can slide your fingertips behind the ears. So next, our next movement, and you guys can see it if you look up on the board by Robert's head, we've got trapezius swish. So with our foot that's leading, that's pushing out away from our body, that is the direction we're going to dip our knees towards. So we'll dip our knees to one side, so one foot goes back, the other foot goes forward. And just a few times on that. I said I was going to do 3. I'll start doing 3 starting now. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and fold our towel. And we're going to get into the more like real deep Ashiatsu stuff. So I'm going to bring my client's arm behind her back carefully. I'm going to lift her shoulder up and I'm going to place that towel on my foot so my foot is not on her pec attachments, but the towel is. But my foot is being used to lock us in so that this is a more stable movement. And then also to elevate her shoulder blade so that I can really get into these rhomboids here. So I'll take my other foot, and I'm going to keep my foot really dorsiflexed the whole time. I'm going to hook in, and this is the point where I want to ask about pressure because I'm going to maintain this pressure throughout the entire movement. So on a scale of 1 to 5, what's this at right now?
That's probably a 4.
A 4? Yeah. Do you want me to go lighter, or is that okay?
That's okay.
Okay. So then I'll go ahead and very slowly trace the rhomboids and continue working all the way around the scapula. And then coming back. So we'll do this 3 times. Sliding off. And then once again, is that still at a 4?
Yeah.
Okay. And you like a 4, right? Okay. So when you do this, you should be able to really relax. This shouldn't be strenuous for you at all. It will be in the beginning, but once you've done this a few times, you'll have the muscle memory and you'll also have built up the strength. And then you'll be able to practice law of least resistance where you just relax, where you work without working, And it's amazing that that feels better to you and it feels better to your client also. So sliding off. And now you're going to go ahead and lift your client's shoulder a little bit, bring your foot out. We're going to wrap our hands in the scarves, make sure you're nice and secure. And we're going to make sure that our scarves are fed through that loop so that they're secure. They're not just tied on in a granny knot, okay? So next we're going to go ahead and we'll take the lateral aspect of our foot. So we're going to switch feet and we're going to go ahead and place that lateral aspect next to the scapula. And I'll have my client go ahead and take a deep breath in, and then I'll just sink straight down. Do a little bit less the first time so they can gauge pressure. And then I'll slowly release. Do you want more or less pressure, or do you want that to stay the same?
Maybe a tiny bit more.
Tiny bit more? Okay, go ahead and inhale deeply. And then exhale, and you'll sink down. We'll do just a little bit more. Right there. Okay, and then inhale. How about for this last one?
That was perfect.
The same? Okay, go ahead and exhale. And I'll sink down with her breath. There. Okay, so now with this foot that's been working, I'm going to step to the edge of the table, take my right foot, dip my toes under, and I'm going to bring her arm back down to the side. And then I'll stand with both feet at the top of the table and wrap my hands in the scarves, lean back, and then carefully sit down. I'm going to lift her shoulder up a little bit and take that towel out. And we're going to repeat these movements on the other side. So, take her arm behind her back, lifting her shoulder up, and then I'll place my foot under, just elevating that scapula. And my foot, when it's under, it's the medial aspect. So it's not the dorsal or plantar aspect. It's not the lateral aspect. That would be really difficult, but it's actually full-on medial aspect. So if you didn't have the flexibility to do that, then you probably could use the dorsal surface of your foot. We just want to get that elevation, and you want to make sure your foot's not touching any part of their body in the front, you know. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press in and establish the pressure. Is that at a 4 yet? You want a little more?
A tiny bit more.
Like right there?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll repeat this movement 3 times for demonstration and practice purposes. Today it gets really fun because you guys get to work the legs and then the entire length of the body. That feels pretty amazing. And it's amazing for the connectedness that you're able to give your client and that you're able to feel through your whole body when you do those long strokes. It's also really great because we know that fascia pulling in one part of our body can affect what's happening in a very different part of the body. You know, those fascial lines are long. So we're going to go ahead and stand up now. Step onto the stool with the foot that is not working, and then that's going to be our standing foot. And then with the foot that will be our working foot, in this case it'll be the left, on her left side, we'll begin this rhomboid smoothing. Bending your leg that's leading. And then you're going to bend your knee that's standing when you're coming back. Is that 3?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you'll compress and slowly lift off. Then you're going to use lateral aspect of your foot. So you'll switch feet. And I'll have my client inhale. Go and inhale. And then exhale. And you'll sink down. And now I know she looks about that much pressure. So I'll slowly release. Do you want more or less the same?
That was perfect.
Okay. Inhale. And then exhale. So even though many times you will find that your client's back will crack, you know, so you'll feel the muscles moving them oftentimes does create adjustments in the spine, but that's never our intent, you know. But it's okay for it to happen. You work with the muscles and that happens. Okay, so we'll step to the side now, and I'm going to go ahead and dip my other foot under and bring her arm down. I'm going to ask her to lift her shoulder up so I can remove this towel, and I'll just remove it, my foot, and then I want to step by her hip to the next place I'll be working. So now I'm going to begin sacral smoothing. So I want to make sure that I really am on the sacrum, because it's a very different feeling if you are right above the iliac crest. You want to actually be on that sacrum, the flat of the back, and feel that. So we're molding our foot to fit that sacrum and to trace the iliac crest. And then in gluteus, medius, and minimus, we'll hook in with our heel and do some circles. And all of this is very locked in movement with your whole body. So it's not with your leg working alone, it's movement from your hips and your standing leg. Okay. We're hooked in. And then we'll slide down with our toes, switch, and begin that same movement on the other side. Do you want more pressure than this, a little bit? Okay. And then we'll hook in with our heel and do these circles in the hips, gluteus medius and minimus, and all along that iliac crest, just inferior to it. Yeah, you all know this, but a lot of times when you have low back pain, the place you really need to work is in the hips. You know, that's where you get a change. And if you spend a lot of time just working the low back, your client stands up and they actually feel kind of weak, you know. So it's really important to make sure you're working the hips. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and pivot, and we're just gonna do these nice loops up the back with the lateral aspect of our foot closest to the spine on the erector spinae musculature. We hook in our heel up by the neck, upper trapezius, and then we take weight off our standing foot as we slide down, pivoting so that our standing foot also, the toes, rotate each time. And then we'll push back, molding our foot against the side of our client's body. Push back and behind. Okay, and then pivot back. And we'll begin twisting with the ball of our foot. This is kind of similar to the feeling that we did with the heel hook and twist. But it's also its own thing. Don't you think it's its own kind of unique feeling? Yeah. So this is just like if you were playing in the sand. So just squishing, twisting. And the feeling of this, the pressure is very incremental. So when you start out, it's not that deep. And as you end the twist, that's the maximum depth of the pressure. Okay. And then we'll pivot and we'll slide up the back again. What's that pressure at for you?
Probably like a 3.5.
Do you want more than that?
Tiny bit.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit? Okay. And then sliding off, taking a little pressure off your foot as you pivot, and then pushing back. Is that the third one on this side? Second? Okay. Two different parts of your brain when you're teaching and then when you're doing massage. And so it's sometimes hard to bring them together, because when you're actually a massager, you're in a meditative state. You're not in like the intellectual teaching state. So sliding. And then pivoting, and we'll go up one more time. Heel hook on the upper trapezius. And then sliding off the arm and pivoting. What would happen if I were to pivot and I kept my foot that's planted right here on the table, if I kept it there and I tried to turn like this, yeah, I'd probably hurt my knee. Yeah, you could hurt your ankle too, but it would kind of get stuck there on the table and I would have a lot of force in these areas. So you have to take a little weight off and be up on your toes and then pivot. I'd also get caught in the sheet, you know, so it would feel just awkward. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this on the other side. So pivot and then same movement. Just making sure. Twisting with the ball of the foot. Pivoting and then sliding up the back. Heel hook in the upper trapezius. So it's probably going to happen naturally, but your foot needs to be pointed away from their head just a little bit so that, you know, if it's straight on, it could create secondary, you know, unintentional secondary contact, and that's never a good thing. In this case, it'd be the side of your foot touching against their ear, which would take this from feeling really good to suddenly weird, you know. So pivot. All those little things matter. Is this the second one? Yeah. And then slide off. And then push back behind you. Really mold your foot to fit the shape of your client's body. Okay, so your toes should be nice and soft and curved. And then the last time, pivot. And then, set it 4 right there?
Yeah.
Okay. Hooking in. Pivot to slide off. And then pushing back. Okay, so there's more moves that you can do, but I mean many, many more. But for our routine and what we're learning, we are going to move to the legs now. So I'm going to go ahead and stand to the side, to both sides of my client, and I'm going to bring the top sheet in medially. I'm going to lift her lower leg, bending her knee, and then slide that sheet under. We want to make sure the glute is covered when we do that. And then I'll fold the material and show one side of the glute. Then I'll apply my oil. And we don't want to rub the oil in. We want it to stay there so that we can use it for the massage. So now I'm going to start with twisting with the ball of the foot on the glutes. So twisting. And this is the new material for today that you guys are going to learn. And you can get also all around the hip again with this. So I'm going kind of fast with this movement right now, but I want you guys to do it really slow at first because it's really important that you know that this pressure is incremental. If you were to start out doing it fast, you might have pressure that was not incremental, that was all at once, and that definitely doesn't feel good, you know? That feels like you're being punched. It feels like an attack instead of this nice massage where they're aware of what's going on with you. So now we're going to, I already did 2 strokes of this, but it's just fanning your foot out, so you're pressing out, coming to the popliteal space, and then turning so your toes are pointed inferiorly on their body, and you lead with your heel and come back. Okay. And then we're gonna go ahead with this next stroke, turn our toes so that they're pointed towards their feet and their heel, so inferiorly on their body, and slide all the way down. You're gonna hook your toes around their Achilles tendon, and then slowly come back, leading with your heel. Why is it so important that we lead with our heel? Yeah, so that we don't compromise the knee joint, because we only have flexion and extension from this joint. And if we go out like this, that's fine, because this is really coming from our hip. But if we were to come back, we would hurt our knee and bring it out, because we'd have that drag, on it. And if we do this, then we're able to just bring it back with flexion. Does everyone see that? And why you could get hurt if you did it the other way? So now I'm going to pivot when I get to her low back and continue the stroke all the way up her body. So all the way to crook of the neck to like C7, and then working the upper trapezius, sliding up the arm as I pivot out, coming back, pressing my foot back, molding it to her side of her body, and then I'll slide down again. And then coming back, leading with the heel. What's that pressure at?
Probably a 3.
A 3? And you want a 4, right? Okay, we'll do the next one a little deeper. Is a 4 right there for you?
Yeah.
Okay. That 4?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to slide, tracing her iliac crest. Okay. And then I'll stand on either side of my client. I'm going to drape the glute, and then I'm going to lift her leg. Now with this, I'm going to move her leg into a position we're calling frog leg, which is just bringing her leg out with her knee bent, and it'll create a hip opener for her. It will also change the musculature that we get into in the back. And so I want to, as I bring her leg out, I want to press this material in the top sheet against her quads, okay? And I need everything really tight in there. And then the sheet's going to slide off this straight leg just a little bit, but it's going to keep everything nice and tight with the draping over here. So I'll lift up and I'll bring her leg out. Okay. And then I'll roll the sheet. And you might need to apply a little bit more oil here. In advanced Ashiatsu, advanced Suboccipital, you start using all these yogic poses that are really amazing and really open up your client's joints, and it's great. So this is just one of them. It's like a little preview of what you can do, but it's good for our class right now for getting started. So twisting with the ball of the foot, and then I'm going to go ahead, I'm right on the piriformis, start of the glute, and just transfer my weight into the spot. Do you want more pressure than that, or is that okay? Okay. And can you feel it as a hip opener? Yeah. So I'm going to stay here. So you can stay here from 10 seconds up to 3 minutes. If your client has sciatic pain, sometimes it's really great to stay that long. Their body will start unwinding, which means that their leg will start twitching and will raise off the table, things like that. But, so you have to explain what unwinding is to your client. But it's really effective at resolving that type of pain. So I'm leading with my heel as I come up. But this is essentially the same movement. And then I'm using the arch of my foot against the IT band and also a little bit of the quads. And then I'm sliding along tibialis anterior, between the tibia and the fibula, and then coming back. And then I'll lead with my heel pressing into the hamstrings. So we'll do one more. Sliding on those quads, a little bit of the IT band, and then sliding down along the lateral aspect of the leg. Sliding off the foot and then back. And now I'm going to do some compressions. So on that IT band, I'll just sink my weight onto that foot by transitioning my body weight over where I'm standing on her. Do you want more or less pressure than that?
That's probably perfect.
Right there? It's good? Okay. And then on the lower leg, I'm going to just kind of strip this musculature. You could also do a little bit of twisting with the ball of the foot. That doesn't feel right on the gastrocnemius and soleus, so on the posterior aspect of the leg, but it feels really good, that twisting, along these long bones, so along the bones and the musculature that's on them. Digging my heel into the hamstrings, just kind of like coming up along it. And then I'm going to pivot, and I really want to get right into the space where, on the erector spinae, but feel how that changes this entire stroke and the effectiveness, and how your back gets a different benefit from this movement, huh? Yeah. So we're also really getting, when we're down that low back, quadratus lumborum, because of the positioning. But the movement is essentially the same. It's very repetitive. Twisting with the ball of the foot. You want to be mindful of your draping. Make sure that only the area that you're working is uncovered. And slide down. And then coming back. And then make sure you really do move your foot, transition it right onto the sacrum and onto the erector spinae. And onto that quadratus lumborum. So if we were doing true Shavuti Theramal, we'd have those two ropes. And it's kind of fun. Pivoting, really contouring your foot to match your client's body and what they need. So I'm going to drape her glutes, and I might do just a tiny bit of sacral smoothing. Slide off. And then we want to take as few steps as possible on the table, right? So I'm going to reach down, and then I'll step to the bottom of the table, and then step with my other foot, and then I'm going to just grab her ankle and straighten her leg. Okay. So we'll do 3 strokes now, facing out. And with this, we're just going to go straight up. Our heel goes right into the gluteal fold. This is an acupressure point. It's also a really great marma point for resolving pain in the lower limb. So we'll do this 3 times. So is everyone noticing that we don't come back down with the stroke? We're just, only going up. And even though it looks like I'm on her toes, I'm not putting any pressure on her toes, because that feels really bad if someone does. Have you guys had anyone stand on your toes and put pressure? You might want to, just so that you can, it feels horrible, but just so that you can experience what it would feel like if you did it to a client. You know. You like it? Yeah.
From being fractured, so that's probably why.
Yeah. For most people, they don't like it. But try it and see if you like it.
Is that the only way, or is there a more comfortable
What?
way? Is that the only way to hold their leg down with the feet out?
Well, I mean, you could do it without your foot there at all, and it would be okay. You just don't feel as locked in. Where I'm really putting pressure is on the ball of the foot and not very much pressure at all. So essentially when I'm doing that, I'm standing on my heel. So I'm standing on my heel like this, and then my toes are just there. And it's hard to see because her foot's underneath there, so it looks like it's being elevated just by her foot, but it's because I'm actually putting the pressure on my heel. All right, so now I'm going to drape the leg. I'm going to lift her leg slightly, bring this material under, and then I'll hold by the top of her leg and pull that sheet out. When you pull the sheet out, you want to make sure that you're not pulling up, that you're pulling either straight or slightly down. Okay. So now we want to take as few steps as possible. So we're going to take our opposite leg and stand on, you can pick a side. So it could be my right foot over on her left side, or it can be my left foot over on her right side. Okay. So now we're going to drape or undrape the other leg, and we'll do the same thing. So twisting with the ball of the foot. Is that at a 3 right now? Or 4? 4? Okay. And you're okay with it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then we're going to slide down the leg to popliteal space. Come back leading with the heel. Is that a 4 on your legs, or do you want deeper?
I do a little
A
bit.
little deeper? Okay. One more time. And then with this next pass, we're going to slide all the way down. I'm going to turn my toes once I get to the popliteal space. And then come back, leading with the heel. You guys are going to have so much fun. Okay, pushing out. Turning your toes when you get to the popliteal space. And then coming back. Leading with the heel, really molding the tool you're using, which is your foot in this case, to fit the contours of their body. So this feels really good. So it's this deep, amazing, compressive massage. And now when we get to the low back, we're going to pivot and continue all the way up. Do you want more pressure than that?
That's fine.
Okay. Hooking our heel in the upper trapezius. Sliding off the arm. And then pushing back. Molding our foot to the side of their body. Pivoting. Twisting with the ball of the foot. And then continuing down the leg. To make you sleepy? A little bit? Yeah. It's a good thing to watch before you go to bed. And then pushing back, molding your foot to fit the side of your client's body. It's really contoured, and then pivoting. Do it one more time. Just in case you aren't asleep yet. I can actually see your eyes closing. It's so cute. Massage it's so relaxing. It is hard to watch massage. It really is. Unless the goal of watching it is just to relax. Like all your mirror neurons come on and you just like. Yeah, we can do lunch after so you guys can wake up a little bit, okay? Pivoting. But do you see how it's such a relaxing, nice massage to give? Yeah. Okay, so you're going to trace along that iliac crest. And then we'll drape the glute. Stand on either side by your client's hips. We're going to lift up their lower leg, bending the knee. We want to make sure that this material that's against the quads that we're draping with, that it is pushed up against the quads. It comes with us as we bring the leg out. And you may need to apply a little more oil. So, and be aware that even if they wanted really deep pressure, so twisting with the ball of the foot, And then we're gonna come to the center of the glute, right where that piriformis is, and we'll just sink our weight down. Is that too much? No? So this is a hip opener. And how long can you stay here? 10 seconds up to even like the myofascial release level of 3+ minutes. So, but if you are doing that level, you'll generally see the client start unwinding. So you'll see that movement in their body. Have you guys had a client do unwinding on your table? Yeah.
It almost seemed uncomfortable. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's weird if you haven't seen it before, but it's once you realize how beneficial it is for them, it's really nice to let them
Like if they're in the CD flow, then they like start to like
twist, move their neck.
And, like, their eyes will flick even though they're closed. They're like
Yeah, it's so healthy for them to be able to unwind and to let go of those patterns in their body, right? Because those are deep stored muscle memories that the body's locked in with emotions, and it's really important to be able to let them unwind and let that go, you know? But if you didn't know that's what was happening, it would seem even scarier or weird, you know? What were you gonna say? I apologize.
when you're holding down for up to 3 minutes, would you use less pressure?
Usually you stay pretty consistent, yeah. But you have to communicate with the client and explain what you're doing. And usually it's because they have sciatic pain or their hips are really stuck, things like that. Is that 4 right there? Okay. When I talk, I lose track of the number of times that I'm doing this. Because again, the 2 different parts of your brain, right? So I think this is the 2nd time, or am I on the 3rd?
I wasn't paying attention.
Okay, we'll do it one more time just for good measure. You guys are gonna do 3 times each just for practice. Okay. So we'll do it one more time though. Has anyone experienced the unwinding? You haven't experienced it yet?
Like personally or with the client?
Yeah, personally. No?
I don't think so. I don't think so either.
It's actually amazing. It's letting go of that muscle memory, you know? And because our body and brain just want to be efficient, that's why we link tension and link muscle responses with emotions. For every emotional response we have a physical response. And they get locked in together as a pattern. Not unlike someone who thinks that they need to concentrate might do something strange like, I told you guys about the guy that would put his tongue up on his lip whenever he needed to concentrate, right? He was still doing that in his 40s. And it was just because his brain and body locked in as a habit. And so it was very difficult for him to concentrate unless he was doing that, you know, unless he had his tongue out. So he kind of had to start over and retraining himself to be able to concentrate without engaging in that habitual action. So releasing those patterns that the body was trying to engage in to be efficient, but were really unnecessary, that's pretty powerful work, you know?
And also, when you have pain in certain areas of your body,
Yeah.
That's usually tied to an emotion.
Yeah, it's tied to emotion. And it might not be like one specific trauma, right? It might be a collection of things. I used to notice that if I was driving and I saw a police officer behind me, that my legs would go numb. It was just some sort of habit that I locked in, you know? And so when I placed my awareness on that, I was able to soften, you know, and consciously bring energy back into that part of my body and to break that habit. So you can do that yourself by bringing awareness to it, but massage in a very powerful way brings awareness to these areas and allows the client's body to address them. So after this, the last thing that you guys are going to do, last movements are going to be to work the arms. We're working posterior aspects of your client. And if you wanted to, you could, down here at the feet, it's kind of nice. You can, if you want to, do a little bit of like twisting with your toes on the heel, kind of like you're opening a can, opening a jar. I guess not a can, it would be a jar. And then you can press a little bit, pressing with your heel. Just not on their toes unless it's Dustin's toes, because he likes it. And slide off. And we can do the same thing on this side. Twisting. And little presses. Okay. So now we're going to reach the bars and step up underneath their arm, and then bring their arm up like this. Move the sheet out of the way. We'll gently support their fingertips. This is because I have the pressure on my heel, right? And then I'm going to do some compressions on the arm. So just with the arch of my foot, pressing down. It's always incremental pressure. Slow increase in the pressure till you get to the maximum depth, and then slowly release. So never pressure all at once. Just very incrementally deeper, 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 till you're at your maximum. Pause, slowly release. And on the upper arm, do you want more pressure than that, or is that okay? There, okay. And then I'll slide down. I'm going to do a little bit of twisting with the ball of my foot on her palm. And then I'll need to step to both sides to apply oil. You might have enough oil from applying it in the beginning, but if you don't, you'll have to reapply a little bit right here. And then we'll support the fingertips, and we'll begin kind of stripping the flexors of the forearm, and then sliding up for effleurage, coming back down. Sliding off, okay? So now I'm gonna go ahead and step over on the other side, crossing my foot over, and I'll dip my toes down and lift her arm up. I might straighten her elbow a little bit with one foot and then support her fingertips. And then compressions with the arch of my foot. Incremental pressure. Is any of that too much? Okay.
Sorry, my hands are so cold.
This is where you're getting massage. Help you get circulation through your entire body. Good. And then sliding down. And then if you need to apply more oil, you'll stand on both sides of the table just so that you have stability. And then supporting the fingertips. And then we'll slide up. At some point, you'll want to do the twisting with the ball of the foot on the palm. Okay. Twist, twist, twist. And all in that thenar group. Stripping out those forearm flexors. And then just this deep effleurage type stroke. Okay, so after that, we'll return to the top of the table. And if you want to, make sure that you always feel balanced. So if you don't feel like you're totally balanced, you shouldn't let go of the bars or do anything that compromises your balance. But if you can hold your body weight up, so if you can hold yourself up and you feel pretty comfortable doing that, then you can do these strokes. But if you don't, then you definitely don't want to do these strokes. So I'm going to go ahead and just slide, bringing all that tissue down. Okay. And my feet are on the rhomboids, also trapezius, also erector spinae musculature, also levator scapula, so, and some others, but I'm between the scapula and the spine, right? And then I'm going to bring my feet out. So for those of you that were privileged as children, this is like pizza and french fry for skiing. Okay. So french fry, and then pizza, and then we'll slide off. And if you want to, you could also put one foot on the hip and the other, and you could do this windshield wiper type motion on the side. And then around the scapula, hooking your heel in. You can slide down the arm then, and then come back.
Rebecca, when you
Yep.
were doing that, like when both of your feet were on your back, was your weight in your arms or on your feet?
My weight is, it depends on how much pressure the client wants, but it's partially in my arms and then partially on their body. If they want a ton of pressure, then it's going to be mostly just on their body, right? So I'll just transfer all the weight there. So the windshield wiper motion. You want your first step to be right on the iliac crest though, because that bony landmark that can support your weight, and then you'll begin twisting. And then I'll step to the side and then continue the stroke with just one foot. And you could come back up or you could just stop there. And then I'm gonna stand at the top of the table, wrap one hand in the scarves, then the other, and then I'll sit back. And then just carefully lower yourself down. Okay? So that's our whole routine for posterior aspect.